from Geekadores here at the 2017 Level Up EXPO in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joining me right now is Grover, the producer and director of Selatria by WIM Independent Studios. How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So, can you tell us about Selatria and WIM Independent Studios?
Sure. WIM Independent Studios is an independent game development company. We started back in the end of 2012 with my friends from college. We at first it was started with the Selatria, which it started off as a game that I started as a college project, but we turned it into a commercial game, and over the course of about 5-6 years, we've managed to get here. So Selatria involves the main characters Mage and Melanie that you see at the bottom here. They're trying to reclaim their home from the invading Doctrine Empire. The game that we have available is it's in 2 parts. The first is called the Advent of the Doctrine Empire, and it's now out on Steam, itch.io, Game Jolt, and Aldoria Games. So. Do you have any other questions?
All right. Well, I mean, just going by the imagery here, it definitely looks like you have a large cast of characters.
Yes.
Definitely getting an old school Final Fantasy vibe from it. What would you say are your influences for this game, or just gaming in general?
Sure. I played a lot of Super Nintendo role-playing games in my youth. The first one I played was a Lufia series, Lufia 1 and Lufia 2 for the Super Nintendo. I also played Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 6. Well, it was Final Fantasy 3 here for the Super Nintendo, but Final Fantasy 6. And
in my opinion, the best of the series.
Oh.
Sorry, Final Fantasy 7 fans.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And a lot of our battle systems influence from Chrono Trigger. I know Chrono Trigger has team techs. We have team attacks where they can create attack chains with attack chains with different party members. So depending on your setup of 4 characters, I know Chrono Trigger has 3 party members in the party, but with we have 4 in Selatria, and depending on the layout of which 4 characters you decide to choose, you can use different types of attack chains. As you can see, there's different ones. Like this guy, he's an angry fist fighter. He's an old mage. You know, you have your archer, your ninja assassin. So you can come up with different combinations of team attacks with the different combinations of characters.
Now, so would you say this kind of game appeals to just all RPG fans, or turn-based strategy, or turn-based RPG fans, or just primarily fans of kind of like that kind of old school feel of like the older Final Fantasy games?
As players have seen who have played at our booth, it's pretty difficult. However, we have mechanics in place that if we notice that you're struggling throughout the game, we do make it easier over time. So we give it like 3 or 4 tries on like a boss battle or a puzzle in the game, and after that point, we make it easier for new people or people who are not as used to playing RPGs. They can have an easier time and still enjoy the story.
All right, and you mentioned that I believe earlier before we did the interview, you mentioned this was part 1 is out right now, and so where do you see the series going?
I'm not a big fan of sequels in general. The game itself was originally planned to be one whole game, but due to funding issues, we separated it into 2 parts. So we're using the revenue from part 1 to be able to fund part 2. I want to avoid Kickstarters or things like that going forward, because I know the bad nature of Kickstarters and RPGs that they either meet their goal and they don't deliver on their promises, or things like that. So I want to kind of keep it self-funded going forward and use the revenue that we have from part 1 to be able to complete part 2. Whether or not how part 1 is, there will always be a part 2, but there's things I want to do with part 2 that might need increased funding from increased revenue to be able to do, like additional voices or additional animations or things like that. But we already have the story written, we have the music done, and we have a finished script. We just need to turn that into gameplay. So for part 2, where I see it going, we want to release by 2018, and then depending on the funding and depending on the revenue that we have at that time, we'll polish it up a little nicer, have more, I guess, a bigger budget to be able to do more interesting things with the Selatria in general.
Right now, and you said it's going to be on Steam, it's on Twitch.io, and where else?
Itch.io.
Oh, sorry, itch.io.
Yes.
I've been to that site too.
Yeah.
And what else?
itch.io, Game Jolt, and our publisher, Alderlia Games. So the Alderlia is the publisher that really helped us get on Steam, and we're also on their website as well. We also want to eventually go towards Amazon, and as well as I think Twitch is doing a game distribution channel. Yeah, we'll see about that, but Amazon is kind of our next. The Amazon Digital Sales Library is where we're going next.
All right, and now, real quick, I know this is probably not an easy question for fans of games. If you had to pick one RPG as your favorite, what would it be?
Can I pick two? Okay, Lufia 1 for the Super Nintendo, which is the RPG that got me into the genre. I played that as a little kid. I didn't know how RPGs worked, and it was Lufia that really got me into it. And then Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX, I really love that RPG for the PS1. It really stands out to me as that's my favorite Final Fantasy. So sorry, I know you're a Final Fantasy VI fan, but 9 is my personal favorite. But 6, as you mentioned, that was a big inspiration for the style that we did, because that was the last big 2D RPG, that and Chrono Trigger. So it definitely has its place. So.
All right, so you heard it here. This is Grover, producer and director of Selatria, and this is WIM Independent Studios.
Please look forward to playing Part 1 on Steam, and please look forward to Part 2 sometime next year.